and supporting details. And we went through this section, and I modeled for you on pages 6 and 7 how to find the main idea of that section of the text, along with 2 key supporting details. We were talking on pages 6 and 7 a lot about the shape of a snake and how the shape of the body, along with like the muscle control and then other characteristics of its shape, allowing it to move and swim. So now we're going to move on to the second day, and we are focused on pages 12 and 13. So I'm here on a split screen again, and we're looking at page 12 in the text right here, and then 13. So I'm just going to reread this section of the text. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see and follow along. It says, the teeth of non-poisonous snakes can't do much damage to a predator. And even the fastest snake has a hard time escaping from an animal with 4 legs. So some snakes have ways of tricking their enemies. Many have rounded tails that look like their heads. I can kind of see that here in this illustration. When threatened, these snakes hide their heads and show their tails. The predator attacks the tail, and the snake can wriggle free and escape head first. So again, in this illustration, boys and girls, when we talk about those nonfiction text features, I know that this is a hand-drawn illustration, but we see that. The predator coming up to the snake, and just as mentioned in the text, it sticks the tail out, looking like the head, so the predator is going to go after the tail, and then it's safe head first to escape. Let's look at page 13. Oh my. This snake right here looks like it's upside down. I don't know, those are his eyes, and then his body, and then we have the predator here. The eastern hognose snake is a champion trickster. When threatened, it lifts and flattens its neck and hisses. If the enemy comes closer, the snake strikes at it with its mouth closed. If that doesn't work, the snake violently twists its body about, vomits, and defecates. That means that it poops. Then it rolls over on its back and lies completely still, its tongue hanging from its open mouth as if it were dead. When the enemy leaves, the snake turns over and crawls off. I didn't know that snakes did that. That's new learning for me, but I do know of another animal, a possum, that does that when they play dead. So I've learned on these 2 pages that snakes have an adaptation or a characteristic that helps them survive, and that is tricking their enemies. So now I'm going to go over here to my graphic organizer on this should say day 2, and I might write something like text is mostly about some snakes having ways of tricking their enemies. I'm going to highlight this part. So that's what I've determined is the main idea. So now I need to come over here and give 2 supporting details, 2 key details that support that snakes can trick their enemies. So right here I learned about this, the first snake, and I learned that there are a couple things that they can do. Say something like a detail that supports the main idea is that many snakes hide their heads and use their rounded tails to trick their enemy into attacking their tails so that the snake can wriggle free. So that's the part that I actually paraphrased what I read here in the text. I didn't copy down like one sentence from the text. If you did, that's okay. If you did that yesterday. If you do that today, I challenge you to go on and just put this in your own words. It's always good to practice paraphrasing. You'll learn more about that in writing as we go on through the year. So now I go over here to page 13. I want to find another detail that supports that main idea that enemies can trick, or that snakes can trick their enemies. I know they use that to survive. They gave me this example of the eastern hognose snake, not steak. So I might write a detail that supports the main idea is the eastern hog-nosed snake, I've never heard of this snake before, can pretend to be dead until its predator leaves. So again, the reason that we're doing this, readers, is that when we stop and not even just asking questions like we've been practicing, but when we really slow down and think, what was that section mostly about, we are a lot more likely to better understand the text. I think now that we've stopped to really focus on these pages, you could probably tell me a lot more about what you've learned about these creatures than if we had just read the text straight through, kind of like we did on day 1. So, now it is your turn. You're going to go and practice completing day 2 of your graphic organizer, and you are going to look at pages 14 through 18.